You are being completely unreasonable.
We have done nothing wrong.
You know exactly what you did.
Dad, they're kicking us out! You can't do this!
This is your final warning.
When two black sisters board a first-class cabin expecting only comfort, they are instead humiliated, accused of not belonging, and dragged off the plane in front of sneering passengers and complicit crew. What begins as silent pain turns into resistance when they call their CEO father, who grounds the entire flight until justice is served. Inside the cabin, restless passengers shift from whispers of bias to open revolt against the discriminatory crew, while outside, the sisters prepare to reclaim their dignity. Executives storm the plane, the shamed crew face immediate dismissal, and the passengers who once watched in silence witness the stunning reversal of power. From humiliation to resistance, from silence to exposure, the sisters rise against systemic racism and force accountability midair, proving in the end that the sky no longer belongs to the privileged few. It belongs to them and to everyone. Maya adjusted the strap of her leather bag and glanced at her sister. "Layla, stop fidgeting. You're making us look suspicious." "I'm not fidgeting," Layla whispered, clutching her boarding pass so tightly it crumpled. "I just can't believe this is real." Maya's smile softened. "It's just first class. People do this every day." "Yeah, but not us." Layla's eyes flicked around the sleek cabin as they entered. Wide leather seats, polished wood panels, the faint hum of quiet luxury. Dad's upgrade feels like a dream. The two sisters slid into their seats side by side. The cabin smelled faintly of champagne and citrus polish. A flight attendant with a perfect bun and a tighter smile approached. "Welcome," she said. Her gaze lingered an extra second too long. "Are you sure this is your seat?" Maya's lips pressed into a line. She handed over the boarding passes. "Yes, 2A and 2B. The attendant scanned them, then returned the slips without a word. Her smile never reached her eyes. Layla leaned in as the woman walked away. "Did you see that?" "She didn't ask anyone else," Maya sighed. "I saw." She opened the in-flight magazine, though her jaw clenched. "We're not going to let a fake smile ruin this." A white-haired man across the aisle glanced at them over his newspaper. His brow furrowed, then lowered again as if reconsidering something. Layla lowered her voice further. "Why is he staring?" "Because some people think we don't belong here." Maya's tone was flat, practiced. "Ignore him." Moments later, another attendant came by with champagne flutes. "Would you ladies like a glass?" "Yes, please," Maya said. Layla hesitated, then shook her head. "Just water." The attendant nodded but lingered. "You know, these are complimentary up here." Maya's smile didn't flinch. "Yes, water's fine." The attendant walked away. Layla whispered, "Why'd she say that like we didn't know?" "Because she wanted to remind us we don't fit the picture in her head," Maya replied quietly. The boarding door closed with a hiss. Passengers shifted, buckled in, pulled out laptops. Yet the stares lingered, some curious, some annoyed, some amused. Layla leaned back and whispered, "I hate this already." Maya reached over, squeezing her hand. "Don't, this is ours too. We earned it." The seatbelt sign blinked off. Passengers began settling in, flight attendants circulating with trays and carefully rehearsed smiles. Layla shifted in her wide leather seat, pulling her cardigan tight. "Maya, I swear people keep looking." Maya didn't glance up from her tablet. "Of course they are. Two young black women in first class? We're practically an exhibit." "Don't say it like that," Layla muttered, cheeks burning. Across the aisle, the same white-haired man lowered his newspaper again. His lips curved, not quite a smile, not quite a frown. He raised his hand. "Excuse me, miss," he called to the attendant. "Could you double-check their seating? I thought first class was reserved." Layla froze. Maya's eyes snapped up. "Our seats are fine," she said sharply. "Would you like to see our passes too?" The man chuckled, an airy sound that didn't touch his eyes. "Oh, no. I just meant, well, never mind." He disappeared behind his paper again. The attendant hesitated. "Sir, they are seated correctly." Her voice was professional, but her glance toward the sisters carried that same patronizing weight. Maya leaned toward Layla, her voice barely above a whisper. "You see how it works? He questions, she validates him, even when we're right." Layla's hands twisted in her lap. "Can't we just keep quiet? I don't want trouble." Silence is what they want, Maya said, her tone edged like glass. Another attendant approached with a tray of hot towels. She bent down toward the sisters, smile plastered wide. Would you like me to explain how to use these? Maya's jaw tightened. We know how to use towels, thank you. The attendant blinked, still smiling, then moved on without a word. Layla whispered, Why would she? To remind us again, Maya cut in. Always little reminders. A younger woman across the aisle leaned toward them suddenly. Her voice was low, conspiratorial. Don't mind him, she said, glancing at the old man's paper. Some people are just old-fashioned. Old-fashioned? Maya's eyebrow arched. Is that what we call it now? The woman flushed. I just meant you belong here. Don't let anyone make you think otherwise. Her words were kind, but her tone carried pity. Layla forced a polite smile, though inside she shrank. When the meal menus came around, the first attendant returned. Would you prefer the beef tenderloin or the salmon? She asked. Beef, Maya said. Layla hesitated. Salmon, please, the attendant paused. You know, the salmon has a cream-based sauce. It's a bit refined. You might prefer the beef. Maya's nostrils flared. She said salmon. The attendant's smile flickered, but she scribbled it down. Of course. When she walked away, Layla whispered, Why did she say that? Because in her head we're not sophisticated enough, Maya said, voice tight. But watch, she'll bring the wrong one anyway. The old man chuckled again, pretending to read. Layla turned her face to the window, eyes stinging. I don't get it. We're just sitting here doing nothing. Why does everything feel like a test? Because it is, Maya murmured. Every glance, every question, every fake smile, they're measuring whether we deserve to breathe the same air up here. Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. The hum of the engines filled the gap, but so did the weight of unspoken judgment. Finally, Layla whispered, I just wanted this to feel special. Maya reached for her hand under the armrest, squeezing it gently. Her voice dropped low, steady. It is special. Not because of the seats, because we're here together, and because every second we refuse to shrink, we're winning. The flight attendant returned, placing plates before them. Layla glanced down. Beef. Her chest tightened. She opened her mouth, but Maya's hand pressed over hers. Don't, Maya said softly, eyes fixed on the attendant's retreating back. Not yet. The old man cleared his throat behind the newspaper, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. Layla swallowed hard, her appetite gone. The first-class cabin gleamed with its luxury, but every smile cut sharper than glass. The cabin lights dimmed as the flight leveled off. Trays clinked, glasses tinkled. A hush of luxury settled over first class until it cracked, Excuse me. A sharp male voice cut through. The old man across the aisle lowered his newspaper and raised his hand. His words were loud enough for everyone to hear. I don't think these two belong up here. A stunned pause. Heads turned, Layla's face drained of color. Maya? She whispered. Maya sat straighter, her tone razor-edged. Say that again, the man sneered. I said, I don't think you belong in first class. This section is for, he stopped, lips curling, paying passengers. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the cabin. Maya's voice cut clean. We paid. You don't get to decide who belongs. A flight attendant appeared instantly, bending toward the man with soothing tones. Sir, what seems to be the problem? He jabbed a finger toward the sisters. Them. I don't feel safe with them here. Layla flinched as if struck. Safe? Maya leaned forward, fury rising. Safe from what? Sitting quietly in our seats? The attendant turned to Maya, tone clipped. Ma'am, please lower your voice. My voice? Maya barked a laugh, sharp and bitter. He accused us of being a threat and I need to lower my voice? Ma'am, the attendant repeated firmly, you are disturbing the cabin. The old man nodded smugly, retreating into his seat like a king who'd issued decree. Layla's hands shook against her tray. We didn't do anything, she whispered. Maya stood halfway, eyes blazing. We are not moving. The attendant's smile flattened. If you cannot comply with crew instructions, we will have to escalate this matter. The younger woman across the aisle spoke hesitantly. They weren't doing anything. Maybe just let it go? Her voice wavered. She shrank back when the old man glared. The attendant ignored her. Ma'am, I'll ask you once more. Please sit down and keep your voice down. Maya's fists clenched. No, you don't get to humiliate us while coddling him. Write it down. Document it. Because I promise every word you're saying will matter later. The attendant's eyes flickered, momentary fear behind the professional mask. But then came the script. For the safety and comfort of all passengers, I am classifying your behavior as disruptive. The word dropped heavy, poisonous. Layla whispered, broken. Disruptive? Yes, the attendant said smoothly. You are interfering with crew duties. This is your final warning. Maya sank back into her seat, chest heaving. Her voice trembled, not with fear but fury contained. Final warning for existing. The cabin grew silent, every passenger watching, no one intervening. Even those who pitied, even those who knew it was wrong. Silence hung thick as complicity. Layla's eyes brimmed with tears. Maya, please, stop. I can't. Maya's hand found hers under the armrest, grip fierce. Don't let them break you. The engines droned, but the cabin buzzed with invisible tension. Somewhere in the cockpit, a decision brewed. The spark had been struck, and it would set the whole flight aflame. The cabin lights glowed soft and warm, but the air had frozen into ice. Passengers whispered. Attendants whispered louder. Then came the announcement. Calm, sterile, damning. This is your captain speaking. Due to a passenger disturbance in the first-class cabin, we are returning to the gate. Layla's stomach dropped. What does he mean us? Maya's jaw set. He means exactly what it sounds like. The old man across the aisle smirked, folding his paper neatly. Good. About time. A collective hush swept through the cabin as two attendants marched toward the sisters. Their steps were brisk, their faces masks of control. Ladies, the lead attendant said, voice crisp. Please gather your belongings. You are being removed from the aircraft. Layla's throat closed. Removed? For what? Disruptive behavior, the attendant recited, eyes darting to the watching passengers. You've interfered with crew instructions. That's a lie, Maya snapped. Her voice carried, sharp and cutting. The only thing we did was defend ourselves from his racism. She jabbed a finger toward the man, who now pretended to be absorbed in his watch. Ma'am. The attendant's tone dropped colder. If you refuse to comply, we will call airport security to escort you. Maya rose to her feet, chin high. Do it, call them. But everyone here will remember this moment. Every last one. The younger woman across the aisle fidgeted, half standing. Maybe they don't have to leave. Sit down, ma'am. The attendant cut her off. The woman sank back, cheeks flushed with shame. Silence followed. Passengers stared, some with sympathy, most with discomfort. None spoke. Please, Layla begged, her voice trembling. We didn't do anything. We were just sitting here. Her words cracked, tears spilling down her cheeks. The attendant didn't flinch. Gather your belongings now. Hands shaking, Layla reached for her bag. Maya put a hand on her arm. No, she whispered fiercely. This is humiliation. That's all this is, ma'am. The attendant barked. Authority slicing the air. Suddenly, two uniformed security officers boarded. The cabin seemed to shrink around them. Their boots thudded against the carpet as they loomed over the sisters. Ladies, one officer said, voice firm but tired. You'll need to come with us. Layla's body shook as she rose, clutching her bag like a shield. Passengers looked away, some pretending to check phones, others frozen with guilt. Maya's glare burned through every pair of averted eyes. Her voice cut the silence as she stood. Remember this. Every one of you saw injustice, and you chose silence. The old man smirked wider, leaning back in satisfaction. Security led the sisters down the narrow aisle. Whispers trailed them like shadows. Must have been trouble. Sad, but you never know these days. Better safe than sorry. Every word landed like a stone on Layla's back. She kept her head down, tears blurring her vision. Maya, however, kept her chin high, each step deliberate. Her fury was armor, her silence louder than screams. As they crossed the threshold of the aircraft, the lead attendant's voice followed them out. Polished, official, final. Thank you for your cooperation. The door sealed behind them with a hiss. Inside the terminal, the noise hit different. Sterile announcements. The squeak of luggage wheels. The indifferent flow of strangers. Yet for the sisters, the silence was louder than any crowd. Layla collapsed onto a bench, covering her face. They treated us like criminals. Maya stood rigid, fists trembling at her sides. Her voice was low, vibrating with restrained rage. They dragged us off a plane for existing. They think this is the end of the story. She turned, eyes blazing as if daring the universe to answer. But they don't know who our father is. The airport terminal bustled with its usual indifference. Wheels of carry-ons rattled. Voices echoed through intercoms, coffee steamed behind counters. Yet on the corner bench, the world felt muted. Layla sat hunched forward, face buried in her hands. Her shoulders shook. They dragged us out like criminals, Maya. Everyone was staring. I'll never forget their faces. Maya sat beside her, posture straight, fury radiating like heat. Good, let their faces haunt you. Every silent witness. Every coward. Layla lifted her head, eyes swollen red. Don't talk like that, I wanted this to be special. I wanted to feel normal. Instead, they ripped us apart in front of strangers. Maya's hand tightened over her sister's trembling fingers. Normal doesn't exist for us, Layla, not in their world. But don't you dare think this ends here. Silence pressed between them. The crowd moved around them like a river flowing past, not seeing, not caring. Finally, Maya pulled out her phone. I'm calling him. Layla's eyes widened. No, don't. Yes, Maya's voice was steel. They crossed a line. Her thumb hovered over the contact. Dad. Layla whispered. He'll be furious. That's the point. Maya pressed dial. The line rang once, twice, then connected. A deep, measured voice answered. Maya. Her throat tightened. Just the sound of him steadied her spine. Dad. They pulled us off the plane. A pause. Heavy. Weighted. The kind of silence that carried power. Explain, he said at last, his tone low, deliberate. Maya's words spilled, sharp and fast. First, they questioned our seats. Then an old man said we didn't belong. The crew backed him. They accused us of being disruptive, for defending ourselves. Then the captain called security. They dragged us off like we were, her voice cracked. She forced it steady. Like we were dangerous. Layla leaned closer, whispering into the phone, voice trembling. Dad, they humiliated us. In front of everyone. I didn't do anything. I just wanted... She broke off, sobs catching her breath, silence again. Longer this time. It stretched until even the chaos of the terminal seemed to hold still. Finally, their father spoke. Calm. Controlled. A blade wrapped in velvet. Which airline? Maya's chest tightened. Northern Skies, another pause. Then, you documented? Maya glanced at her sister, then back at the phone. Yes, dates, flight number, names, everything. Good, he said. The single word landed like a gavel. Layla wiped her eyes, whispering, What are you going to do? His reply came quiet, but with the weight of thunder. I'll handle it. Stay where you are. Don't leave the terminal. Maya exhaled, steady now. Dad, yes? They think they broke us. His voice dropped lower. Then let me show them who they broke. The line clicked off. The sisters sat in silence, hearts pounding. Around them, the airport flowed on, unaware that the story had shifted, unaware that power was about to reroute its course. Maya whispered, half to herself, half to Layla. This isn't over. It's just begun. Back inside the aircraft, the first-class cabin buzzed with restless whispers. The sisters were gone, but their absence filled every seat with unease. A flight attendant leaned into the galley phone, voice tight. Yes, Captain. They've been removed. First class is settled again. But it wasn't. Not really. 2 rows back, the younger woman who had spoken up earlier whispered to her seatmate. They didn't do anything. You saw why they dragged them off. Her seatmate shifted uncomfortably. Don't get involved, just let it go. The woman swallowed her anger, eyes flicking toward the smug old man polishing his glasses. Then came the ripple. A supervisor boarded, face pale, headset pressed to her ear. She spoke in a hushed rush to the lead attendant. We've got a situation. Corporate's on the line. Direct call from headquarters. The attendant stiffened. Now why? Because, the supervisor hissed, apparently those girls' father is Richard Cole. The attendant blinked. Cole? As in CEO Cole? Yes. As in the man who practically owns half the companies we fly contracts for. The words spread like contraband whispers through the crew. Eyes widened. Faces drained. In the cockpit, the captain's voice crackled over the intercom to ground control. We're being told to hold at the gate. There's been a directive from corporate. Passengers groaned. One businessman muttered, "What now?" "I have a connection." The old man across the aisle raised an eyebrow. "Is this about those women?" No one answered. Back in the terminal, Maya's phone buzzed. She snatched it up. "Dad?" His voice was measured steel. "I've spoken to the CEO of Northern Skies. The plane will not leave the ground until I receive a direct accounting of what was done." Layla gasped. He stopped the flight?" "Yes," their father said. "Stay where you are, watch." Inside the cabin, attendants scrambled. The lead attendant's composure cracked as the supervisor whispered fiercely, "They want names, every staff member involved, and the captain is being ordered to stand by until corporate investigates." The old man chuckled darkly. "What nonsense. They should be thanking me for speaking up." The younger woman shot him a glare. "You ruined their lives for no reason. Now look what's happening." He smirked, leaning back. "People like them don't belong up here. And people like me." He stopped, startled, as a crew member approached. "Sir, corporate wants your name as well. For their record." His smirk faltered. My name, what for? I was the one complaining." "Exactly," the crew member said tightly. "They want it documented." Passengers shifted uncomfortably. The tension, once aimed at the sisters, began to curl back toward the accuser and the crew. In the terminal, Maya's eyes glittered as she listened to her father's steady voice. "They wanted to humiliate you publicly. Now let's see how they enjoy the same stage." Layla wiped her tears, something new flickering beneath her fear. "They're panicking." "Yes," Maya whispered almost to herself. "And we're not even in the cabin anymore." On board, the captain made another announcement, his voice uneasy. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing an unexpected delay. Please remain seated as we resolve an internal matter." Groans echoed through first class. Frustration simmered. But this time it wasn't directed at the sisters. It was at the airline itself. The storm had begun, and everyone inside the sealed cabin could feel it brewing. The jet bridge door stayed sealed. The plane sat motionless, engines quiet, cabin tense. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain's voice came again, forced calm. "We are temporarily delayed due to an operational issue. Please remain seated." A businessman in the second row groaned loudly. "An operational issue? What does that even mean?" Another passenger muttered. "We've been sitting here for 40 minutes. The younger woman across the aisle whispered. "This is about those sisters, isn't it? They're not letting the plane leave." Her seatmate shook his head. "Shh, don't say that too loud." But the whispers spread like wildfire. Near the galley, the lead attendant clutched her tablet as the supervisor hissed at her. "Corporate wants a written statement now. Everything you said, everything you did. They're already pulling CCTV from boarding." The attendant's face paled. "But I was following procedure." The supervisor's tone was sharp. "Procedure doesn't include humiliating paying passengers, especially those passengers." Her hand trembled as she tapped the tablet. In row 1, the old man huffed. "Ridiculous. Catering to them because of who their father is." "If you ask me, the crew was right." A younger passenger shot back, voice sharp. "Nobody asked you." The old man blinked, taken aback. For the first time, the tide was turning against him. Another passenger added, "We saw what happened. You stirred it up. They didn't do a thing." The old man sputtered. "They raised their voices." "They defended themselves," the younger woman snapped. Big difference. The murmurs rose, filling the cabin with restless energy. No longer about the sisters, now about accountability. In the cockpit, the captain spoke low into his headset. "What are my orders?" The answer came back crisp. "Do not depart until this is resolved." "That's a directive from the board." The captain's knuckles whitened around the yoke. "We'll lose our slot. We'll have a cabin revolt." "Then resolve it," the voice replied coldly. "Or you'll have a career revolt." Back in the terminal, Maya's phone buzzed with a text. She read it aloud to Layla. "Flight NS 427 officially grounded. Awaiting compliance review." Layla's eyes widened. He really did it. Dad stopped the whole plane. Maya's lips curved, not a smile, but something sharper. "They dragged us off for disturbing the peace. Now their peace is shattered." On board, passengers grew restless. A mother with a child groaned. "This is insane. Why aren't we moving?" The supervisor finally stepped into the aisle, her voice carrying. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. Due to a matter under review, we will not be departing until further notice." A man in a suit shot up. A matter under review? What does that even mean? Who's under review? Eyes turned, not toward empty seats but toward the crew. The lead attendant's hands trembled as she set down a tray. The younger woman crossed her arms, voice cutting through the hush. We all know who's under review. And it isn't the passengers you threw off. A ripple of agreement stirred. Passengers exchanged looks, nods, murmurs. The old man slammed his fist on the armrest. This is outrageous. They don't belong in first class, and you all know it. But instead of nods, he was met with glares. A man in row 3 barked, "Shut up already. We're sitting here because of you too." The old man faltered, his authority crumbling. The balance of shame had shifted. In the galley, the lead attendant whispered, "They're going to fire me, aren't they?" The supervisor's jaw tightened. "If you're lucky." Corporate's furious. Passengers grumbled louder. The captain finally made another announcement, voice frayed. "Ladies and gentlemen, please be patient. We are required to remain at the gate until further instructions." Another businessman shouted back. "Required by who?" The captain hesitated. "Corporate command." And with those 2 words, silence fell. The hierarchy had cracked open. The passengers knew now this wasn't about safety. This was about consequences. Back in the terminal, Maya sat straighter. Her voice was quiet but certain as she looked at her sister. "Justice doesn't always come in courtrooms, Layla. Sometimes it comes right where the injustice happened." Layla's lips parted. "On the plane?" "Yes." Maya's eyes glinted. "Right there in their sky palace. And now it's grounded." The boarding door finally cracked open with a heavy hiss. The air shifted, oxygen rushing into a suffocating cabin. 2 men in dark suits stepped aboard, crisp badges clipped to their jackets. Corporate security. Behind them, a woman in a tailored blazer, regional operations director, strode forward, her heels echoing against the narrow aisle. Every passenger straightened. Whispers rippled, the old man smirked. "Finally, someone sensible." But the director's eyes did not land on him. They went straight to the lead attendant, whose hands clenched against her apron. "Ms. Carr," the director said, her voice smooth but cutting. "Step forward." The attendant's throat bobbed. "Ma'am, I was only enforcing a step forward." The cabin hushed. Passengers leaned in, sensing theater, justice, spectacle. The director continued, tone precise. "You removed 2 paying first-class passengers. You cited disturbance of peace. Multiple witness statements conflict with your report," the attendant stammered. They were, the director cut in crisp. "They were what, sitting? Talking quietly? Looking like they didn't belong in your version of first class?" Gasps flitted down the aisle. The old man's voice broke through, furious. "This is absurd. They don't belong here. I told you that from the beginning." The director's gaze sliced toward him. "Sir, you are not under review, but perhaps you should be. Several passengers have already cited your behavior as the instigating factor." The man's face reddened. "That's a lie." A younger passenger rose, voice clear. "It's the truth. We all saw it. You insulted them. You tried to push them out," another added. "And the crew sided with you." The tide swelled. One by one, voices rose, not in defense of the old man or the attendant, but for the sisters who were no longer even in the cabin. The director's voice cut sharp through the clamor. "This flight is grounded until accountability is established. The passengers you removed will be invited back aboard." Murmurs turned to stunned silence. Heads swiveled, eyes wide. "Invited back?" someone whispered. "Yes." The director confirmed, already gesturing to the jet bridge. Moments later, Maya and Layla appeared in the doorway, flanked by a staff escort. Their presence shifted the energy of the cabin like a thunderclap. The old man scoffed, "Unbelievable." But the businessman in row 3 stood and clapped, just once, sharp, deliberate. Another passenger followed. Soon a ripple of applause rolled through the cabin, not loud but steady. Pointed, Maya's chin lifted. She did not smile. Her eyes swept across the cabin, pausing on the attendant, then on the old man. She spoke low but clear. "You wanted us silent, invisible, ashamed. Instead, we're here, and the plane you tried to keep us from flying is going nowhere without us." The words landed like stones dropped into water. No one dared breathe. Layla gripped her sister's hand. Her voice trembled but held. "We didn't come here to fight. We came here to travel. But we won't shrink to fit anyone's prejudice again." The director nodded firmly. "Ladies, your seats remain yours. You are welcome to return to first class." The lead attendant's voice cracked, desperate. Please, I was just... Enough, the director snapped. Gather your things. You're relieved of duty effective immediately. Gasps rippled. The attendant's knees buckled slightly before she steadied herself, eyes wet, shame etched across her face. The old man snarled, "This is an outrage. You're letting them win." Maya turned, locking eyes with him. Her voice was calm, deliberate. This was never about winning. It's about being treated as human. Something you've forgotten how to do. He shrank under her gaze. For the first time, his bluster dissolved into silence. Passengers exhaled, some with relief, some with awe. The director gestured toward the sisters. "Take your seats. We'll be departing shortly." Maya and Layla slid back into their first-class seats, heads held high. This time, no one looked away. No one whispered. The air had shifted. Respect hung where contempt once lived. From the cockpit, the captain's voice trembled slightly over the PA. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We will be departing shortly." A mother whispered to her child, "Remember this. Remember how the truth came back." As the plane finally pushed back from the gate, Maya closed her eyes. Not in relief, justice was never complete, but in acknowledgement. The sky had not been theirs when they boarded. But now, with the engines roaring to life, it no longer belonged only to those who tried to shut them out. It belonged to them too. The plane hummed at cruising altitude, but the silence inside the cabin was louder than the engines. Passengers sat unusually upright, still replaying what they had witnessed. Some glanced at Maya and Layla with newfound respect. Others simply stared out the window, chastened by the reversal. Maya's phone buzzed in her lap. A message from their father. "It's handled. Focus on your journey. The world is watching now." She tilted the screen toward Layla, who exhaled shakily. "He really did it. Not just grounding the plane, he exposed them." Maya nodded, her gaze steady on the dark horizon outside. "They wanted us off this flight, out of sight, erased. Now our story's airborne. They can't hide it anymore." Across the aisle, a businessman leaned over, voice low but sincere. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have spoken sooner." "We all should have." Layla's lips trembled before she managed a nod. It's easier to be silent. Until silence becomes complicity. The words lingered in the air like smoke. From the galley, a different attendant approached, young, nervous, but kind-eyed. She knelt slightly at their seats. I wanted to say I'm sorry too. I wasn't part of it, but I didn't stop it either." "You deserved better." Maya studied her for a long moment, then softened. "Thank you. Acknowledgement matters." The apology didn't erase the wound, but it was a stitch. Hours later, as the plane descended, the captain made his final announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing shortly. On behalf of the airline, we thank you for your patience." His voice cracked ever so slightly on the word patience. When the wheels touched down, a quiet murmur rippled through the cabin, not applause, but relief, a collective release of held breath. At the gate, chaos waited. Cameras flashed beyond the glass. News outlets had caught wind of the midair standoff. Reporters lined the terminal, microphones raised like weapons of truth. The old man tried to rush past, barking, "No comment." But a reporter blocked his path. "Sir, did you harass 2 black women in first class?" Multiple witnesses say. His face twisted. "This is slander," he snapped, shoving past the cameras. But the image was captured, broadcast, undeniable. Meanwhile, the dismissed lead attendant was escorted through a side door, head bowed. Her career crumbled under the glare of the same public she had once performed authority for. And then came the sisters. Maya and Layla stepped off the jet bridge into a storm of cameras. The crowd surged, questions flying. "Maya, Layla, how does it feel to have the plane grounded for you? Do you plan to sue? What message do you want the world to hear?" Maya lifted her hand, not to shield her face, but to command silence. The room hushed. Her voice was steady, ringing across the terminal like a bell. "We didn't ask to be symbols. We asked to be passengers. We bought our seats like anyone else, but prejudice thought it could strip us of dignity. Today, the system that enabled it was forced to stop. To listen. To see," Layla added, voice trembling but strong. "This wasn't about special treatment. It was about equal treatment. And if it takes grounding a plane to remind the world of that, so be it." The crowd erupted, not just reporters shouting, but travelers applauding, strangers nodding, parents holding their children a little tighter. Somewhere behind them, the regional director watched, arms folded, her expression unreadable but her presence proof that the company could no longer sweep such incidents away. Later, in the quiet of the car that carried them away from the airport, Layla leaned against her sister. "Do you think it'll change anything?" Maya stared out the window at the endless stretch of sky, dusk bleeding into night. "Not overnight," she said softly, "but today the sky wasn't theirs alone. We carved our place in it, and tomorrow someone else will carve theirs." She reached for Layla's hand, squeezing firmly. "The sky belongs to us all, and they can't take that back." Outside, a plane roared overhead, its lights cutting through the dark, no longer a symbol of exclusion, but of possibility. For the first time since that humiliating walk down the jet bridge, both sisters allowed themselves to breathe freely, not in defeat, not in survival, but in belonging.